But to get into some more lighthearted, fun news, the San Antonio Spurs made a trade, and it's to give us more front court depth, Ethan. Let me pull it up here.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? On July 9th, yes, we realize we are a little bit late here. Me and Ethan are doing our best with our schedules to get you guys some content. But the San Antonio Spurs announced that the team has acquired forward Kelly Olynyk from the Washington Wizards in exchange for guards Malaki Branham and Blake Wesley, as well as a 2026 second-round pick, which is the least favorable out of Dallas, Oklahoma City, and Philadelphia, which at least Dallas and Oklahoma City for sure will probably be in the playoff race. And if Philadelphia can stay healthy, they probably will as well. So those aren't like super high second round picks either, Ethan. So what's your thought on this? I mean, the Spurs, from my perspective, I'll just jump in here. We did not give up a lot to acquire Kelly Olynyk.
No, it's two guys that honestly would not have played next year for a guy that could potentially, will he get 20 plus minutes a game? Probably not, but he'll be a key rotational piece for us. And you know what? Knock on wood, who knows? He might play significant minutes too with the way the Spurs usually run rotations. But I think he's 34 years old. He spaces the floor. He's a big physical body. He's a really solid passer. Last year, only 20 games with New Orleans, but he did average 11, 6, and 3.5 assists. So those are solid numbers for a guy. And we needed front court depth. So we gave up two guys that, maybe down the line prove to be something. Everyone that watches this show knows I'm very high on Blake Wesley, especially defensively. But let's be honest, it's a logjam in the guard room. We needed a 4/5. That's exactly what Kelly Olynyk is.
Absolutely, Ethan. Definitely. Shout out to Malaki and Blake for all the memories that we had in San Antonio. I know a lot of people might hear that and be like, well, whoa, what memories are there? There's definitely some fun games with Blake Wesley. Like, I think, wasn't it like his first career game where he came in and had 8 and 8 or something like that?
Against Chicago.
There you go. You're helping me out there. And with Malaki, there were some 20-point games where he went off as a microwave scorer. Still some good memories, especially, in the few wins that we had in those 22 win seasons. Those guys were a big part of it. We saw Jeremy Sohan was sad to see his draft mates get traded to Washington. Or I don't mean just get traded to Washington. I mean get traded in general. Sorry, Wiz. Didn't mean for you to catch us stray there. But with that being said, Ethan, man, that second round pick, we've got an excess of them, and with those teams involved, I'm like, whatever. Who even cares? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Maybe that turns into the next Manu or Jokic. Probably not. And then, of course, with Malaki and Blake, as much as, we tried to still, have some sort of like optimism on maybe one of them, being able to become a rotation player, with the way that the Spurs progressed, as well as the way that Stephon Castle progressed last season, and with us getting the number 2 pick this year to add another guard in Dylan Harper, like you said, their path to playing time just really was kind of non-existent, especially with kind of a little bit of stagnation, if we're being completely honest, when it comes to the on-court evaluation from last season. It was a tough look for them. And that leads me kind of into the next thing here, Ethan. I mean, here's the updated roster outlook. It just would have been a complete logjam, even if we didn't sign Jordan McLaughlin, which is some other news. After we traded away Blake Wesley and Malaki Branham, Jordan McLaughlin will return and be the third string point guard for the San Antonio Spurs, which we can get into that a little bit more. But the bigger thing that I wanted to pull up here, Ethan, was just that guard logjam that you mentioned. I mean, look at those 4 names: De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and Devin Vassell.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that all of those guys are better than Blake and Malaki, unfortunately. And to be honest, this is definitely a product of our draft lottery luck. If we didn't get number 2 and draft Dylan Harper, they're probably still on the team. But obviously Dylan, we've yet to see him play, but I'm assuming he's going to be more impactful than either of those two guys. But like you said, really sad to see them go, because I think that they were, like, personality-wise, a great fit for the team. And obviously friends with the guys, and believe it or not, did have some meaningful games for the Spurs in the last couple of years.
Man, all of our favorites, Ethan, our favorite bench rotation guys, they just keep trading them. It's Barlow, it's Eubanks, it's Blake. They keep going
Mamu.
away. This leads me into another talking point that I had at halftime of last night's game against the Philadelphia 76ers in Summer League. Is Winky's making himself known. He's coming for the Brian Wright conversation because this was a big talking point. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter as he jumps to the back. He's very excited about it. But Brian Wright basically just said, when asked by Katie George in his halftime interview, what did you guys want to focus on improving most this offseason with this roster? He was like, man, well, when Victor was out of the game, there was a lot of things that we noticed defensively, and we felt like we just really needed to shore up our front court. And that's kind of why you also saw, the Kelly Olynyk trade recently. He was making the point that it wasn't just that they wanted to get Luke Cornett. They wanted to get another piece as well. And that kind of really sold me on, okay, I think Kelly's going to play the 4 for us. And, he's bounced around a lot. Like you said, he was in New Orleans. Then we just traded him he was in Washington too, right?
Yep. For the Jordan Poole trade, he was just filler.
Right. So he's been bounced around a lot, but kind of the place that he's played the most recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, is when he was in Utah. And you kind of saw him next to Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler. So obviously when he's playing next to those guys, he's not playing center. And they were kind of playing Lauri at the 3. But he was playing next to Walker Kessler a lot. He was playing the 4 and kind of playing more off ball and not in that total, center role, as much as we can see him in the small ball 5. I think just later in his career, as much as, you would think when you age, maybe you're less agile or you're not able to do as much of, like all the dribble moves and stuff. I feel like later in his career, he's kind of morphed more into that. And that's probably just, with the style of play in the NBA being the way it is. Obviously, he's always been, like a 3-point shooter. But I really felt like in his time in Utah, I was seeing like, oh, wow, he's putting the ball on the floor. Like you can find some highlights of him, doing some Danny Wolf, esque dribble moves and stuff. Or maybe I should say what Danny Wolf is doing is Kelly Olynyk-esque, since Kelly Olynyk was here first. But the whole point that I'm trying to get to on this spiel is that even though he's like a 6'11", 240 guy, he can definitely still be like, he still fits as a modern 4, and he can do things that like an Aaron Gordon can do, for example. Now, he's obviously not the same defender as him, but I just mean in like his mobility and switchability, across the floor, offensively and defensively. He can play on the perimeter.
Just not the same lob threat.
I'm going to say that because someone's going to say that
in the comments.
Yeah. I was trying to think of it. That definitely wasn't the best example there, but I was just trying to think of like a modern switchable, like, somebody who's like smaller than him, what I mean? But he's still, I just kind of always thought of him as like a center. I know he obviously always was able to shoot the ball a little bit like we saw in Boston and Miami back in the day. But I really feel like in Utah, with the position that they were putting him with all of the freaking bigs that they were playing, you were able to see him really showcase that ability he has as a 4.
Yeah, that was the last time that he had like a complete season with one team and a very consistent role. He played 29 minutes a game, and he did average 12 and 6 and 4 on efficient shooting. And I agree with what you're saying about his mobility being switchable. I think back to when he was in Houston for a quick blip, back when they had John Wall and Boogie, or when they traded James Harden. He averaged 19 and 9 that year.
Wow.
Obviously a terrible team. And he then got traded to Detroit because they thought he was him, and then he averaged 9 in Detroit. But what I'm saying is kind of what you were saying, is Kelly's got more to his game than maybe meets the eye. And go watch his film from back when he played Kevin Love in the playoffs and he ripped his arm out of his socket. He's got some dog in him too. He's kind of a dirty player. So didn't he go to Gonzaga too?
Yep.
Yeah, we love our Zag big, so he fits perfectly.
You know who I think is a better example, Ethan, now that I'm thinking about it, way better than Aaron Gordon? Boris Diaw, actually.
Oh, he got a little Boris in him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely got some Boris in him. He's taller than Boris, though. He's bigger.
Yes, for sure. But, the 4 assists that you mentioned in that last year he played, like he can pass a little bit too.
No disrespect to my guy. He is an ugly dude, though. if he sees this, like, no disrespect, I'm so happy you're on the team, but he is not a handsome man.
Hey, his buckets make up for it.
Yeah, we try and keep it real here at SSPN. That's his biggest negative is
Oh
face.
my goodness. Oh Lord. Well, any final thoughts on kind of the roster here, Ethan? Kind of the main thing I wanted to talk about was just the positionness of Kelly Olynyk and Carter Bryant. And the theme again is versatility with those guys.
No, dude, nothing to add. Just really, really, really excited to have a deep team for once.
And we saw how important that was this postseason. That's not me
Mhm.
saying the Spurs are going to go win the championship, but this is a win now move. And there's going to be so many things that we've been frustrated with over the past couple of years. Like we're going to have a 6'11" and a 7'1" dude both on the floor at the same time coming off the bench. That's just
Unheard of.
been needed. But we'll get off our soapbox on that, Ethan.